good rest. When you wake up fresh, good rest, your mind is the best time. See, that's when I used to like to take my test in school. Fresh early in the morning, like I ace that thing, give me 100. Give me 100 on it. Give me 100 on it, you know. That's when you take them, that's when you want to take your test in school. Good breath was important, but fresh, good rest. That's why I wake up out my sleep and be on my shit. Now we were just over here going in by Athens, Georgia, Athens, Ohio, the first institutions of higher learning, and how they claim to be the pioneers of the Western world. And I asked, so that's why I like fucking with Gemini. I want to make him tell it. Age of Awakening. I'm going to make him tell it. And some told me this morning, stop asking about the Americas, North America, Athens, and the Greeks. When I was listening to that video, the documentary, they said they built holy Roman empires on top of the Inca shit. And the Incas had their shit on top of some nigga shit. So I said, I woke up this morning. Said, I did that Arsenio Hall, about a lot of things. And I keep behind that, I gotta start jotting shit down and remember, because I've been going. I've been thinking about something, but I gotta go to work. I'm gonna check this out. I said, the first university in South America, and it went straight to the same location. Then my G rolled a coin. Just found Ethiopia in the same location. Matter of fact, you're not gonna play. You're not gonna play. You're not gonna do no playing. You're not gonna do no playing. You're not gonna do no playing. First of all, we're gonna go on down here. I'm going down here and show. See, hold up, let me show you. This is when I first started playing with this joker. Cause I got a book called A Pretty Clip. I had AI playing with it. Now he won't do it no more. See, how they usurp the lands. This is gonna be my first book. Probably never write it. I'm a procrastinator. But I want to go a little further than this because I want to go to the connection. See the earth flat. These are lands. And I just call Oceania out there. Out here. Out here. When it should be in the southern Pacific. Right next to Africa down there, but they gotta ball the water up to make it be where they say is at. They gotta do that dumb shit. But anyway, I was down here playing with from Canada to Canada, the beach line. Now this is Memphis. This is when I first started listening and got hipped up. My man rolled a corn. See, you see them columns. You see that triangle? He just talking about that triangle and them columns. And the triple white. I just learned that from him. Yeah, I'm a very attentive student. Yeah, I sure am. I sure am. But see, what led me to him when I was talking about these people right here. These skulls and bones. And go to the, look it up. And I was going to the Skull and Bones to show how they usurp. See LeBron James, gatekeeper. See that on his chest? Gatekeepers. He ain't never been no college. How you become a gatekeeper? But what I'm getting at from Skulls and Bones that this would lead me to him. See, I was down here. See all these Skulls and Bones. I was over here speaking on Gaddafi too, but I was over here going to show the people what they did. See that watch on 9/11. See that watch on 9/11. That man said he knew the date they were gonna bring the building down. Look at his mouth. But see, this is what I was coming to show the Skull and Bone. I was coming to show you the collection of Skull and Bone and how they built cathedrals out of Skull and Bones, and they hid it, like saying this is how they pay homage to their people. But see, in that book they said, bring them skulls to that front gate and leave it in front of the castle. It's one of them stories said in that book. So they built cathedrals out of them jokers that come up missing. If it was a blackness presence in these places, what happens to them? And they genes dominate. You see these cathedrals built out of Skull and Bone. And so I started tracing these people. And they came up with a J. They came up with a letter J, right? Me being who I am, as soon as I see a J, I'm going in. See, I've been holding the NASCAR plate in my hip pocket for a long time. And I've been watching both northwest tips of melanated lands. And that'd be the west and the south. The north and the east, the ones that's playing, doing the conquering and then taking over. And they don't sit above our head. And so some prompted me to look deeper into who these people were. I try to tell y'all. Who these people were. March 22nd is one of these big favorite days. And it led me to some people called, it said they was Jehovah Bones. And I said, and I traced, and that led me straight to Peru. See, modern day trying to say that people migrated from their sides over here, but that ain't how it went. We went there. Look at these cathedrals. Built of skulls and bones. I wonder whose skulls and who bones those are. It shouldn't be no secret. Down in the tomb, skull and bones, tomb atlas. Down in tombs. What do these people know about tombs? What do these people know about tombs? Not a goddamn thing today. Well, did the Roman Catholic Catholic Church killed William Tyndall just because I should have went into that. Look, this is the place I went to. And I'm trying to see where I got that J from. I'm just trying to show you how I come across. The next day, I go in the Empress room, chat room, and she's playing a video from a man named Roll the Corn. And I say, everything I'm holding in my hip pocket trying to show y'all, he talking about. But if y'all been paying attention, y'all know that. And we keep going to the same area. He tripped himself out the other day. He said, there it is right there. The ancient name for Salisbury was Jovalvon. Shout out to the Hebrew language. I banged on Hebrew, but just because in my mind, Jew, Israelite, Hebrew, all that shit was the same to me. All that shit was Abram type shit to me. But shout out to the Hebrew language. Javovon, I seen that J. I said, hold up, there's something about that J. So that J led me right down over here. He said, there is no record of Javovon tribe. A search for the name leads to the information of, and Javovon people neither of which used. It led me to Peru. This is the name for a group of indigenous people in the Amazon basin of Ecuador and Peru. Javaro. And so it led me to Peru, right? And when I get to Peru, that's what I've been holding on to, because I'm trying to protect the last source of my cocaine, because I know they can't get this cocaine now. Yeah, I'm cheap cut the coke. I'm trying to call, in my mind, I'm protecting the cocaine. But see, this shit too far gone. And now I'm realizing they came and got that Peruvian flake. They came and got that Peruvian flake first. They came and got them purple panties first, right? I'm cheap cut the coke. And we rolling the motherfucking corn on things that is indigenous to the Western world, this Western plateau. See, and that is Nazca culture. The mummies and chinchilla cemetery are associated with the ancient civilization that is created. That also created a famous Nazca lines. The Nazca lines. Those are lines. I ain't forgot it. I just said them lines they draw down there. Yeah, the Nazca lines. And they say them same mathematics with those lines lined to those scars is what help. It's the same mathematics they use over there in Egypt. That was another strike. Right? But it led me to Peru. Right? Now, let's fast forward. It was a man somewhere in Florida at a core. He used to charge people to come in and see how he used to move stones by himself. Wasn't nobody working on that. I gotta go try to find those videos. He was moving those stones and showing how he was moving those big large stones by himself. But anyway, to the chase, the Skull and Bone, the secret, the new world order will go forth. But we talking about the old world, bro. Now let's fast forward right now. Let's fast forward. with that being said, that's how I come into contact with this guy's teaching and his knowledge. But I just want to have a conversation with this man. And I'm always pay homage to this man. Because we gonna roll this motherfucking corn. And so they led me to find out about the triple white. About the excavation out of Mississippi. I went to Mississippi Valley for a minute. The mosquitoes were too big down there in Alabama. And plus I had a brand new truck. I was trying to go to school. I'm trying to floss. Yeah, real talk. Did some more investigating. And so I started making AI tell about the continent of North America, not United States being North America, like they try to break down and teach us in this global world. Things was ran by a continental. The world was continental. And even in Ronald Reagan's time, it was continental when he come with the Reaganomics, the cocaine and all that good shit, right? And so when I do that, I ask for these locations within the continent of North America. And that's what I come up with. Florida. Now he just went crazy the other day, said, man, I know I ain't crazy. You mean Ethiopia is in Florida? Key West? Bloodline, dog. The whole Western Plateau. North America is inside the belly of the beast. Boom. Louisiana. Certainly, here's Louisiana location within North America, within the North American continent, within the West. Why are you doing it? And the northwest tip of Africa is west. That's all I see too. Now look how they spell Alabama. I'm from Alabama, Birmingham. Went to see that mound. This man prompted me to get up and go see that mound, oldest mound in Jefferson County. They built a water park on top of it. Shout out to MJ Givens. Yes, of course, here's the Alabama location within North America. And once I started showing this, then I said DC and it went black. Where DC at? With the North, it went black, wasn't doing that. Excuse me, y'all. Check this out. Now let's fast forward. Let's fast forward. Now, let's fast forward. Burnt this man's house up because he found the ancient cities underneath. What are we talking about right here? Either way, let's go. 1088. Okay, this is where we start. Oh, he was talking about Athens. And we connected Athens. And this is what I'm telling you guys. Plato, all these motherfuckers, these are the people who put the globe in place. The beginning of the spacecraft. All that shit fake. We don't live on no globe. It ain't no planet. This how deep this shit go. But look at them columns. This. Roll the motherfucking corn. Now let's go. They do right there. What we talking about right now? What I was talking about right there. Asian, I don't know what was going on. And after I look, this man did a live of the three little nigga boys. and then Mickey Mac. And that's when I showed y'all I had already been hitting the Mickey Mac in prison. Mac, y'all stacking. Mickey Mac Drive. My granddad's brother, Freeman, Ernest Freeman, when he had to cleave my bloodline. And my granddad, Womack, his brother, Freeman. He woke up, I be talking to my soul, bro. I don't be playing. I don't be doing no playing. So it's the Micmac tribe, right? Right? And why he doing that? And these are the same motherfuckers who run the globe. These Greek motherfuckers with a higher learning. But they say they are the Western world. But we the West. Why they trying to claim the Western world? The Library of Alexandria. When the Ptolemy Soter, the general and Alexander army continued their work with this globe shit. And we looking at a flat view. We looking at a top view when we looking at these continents. Just like I just showed on the UN logo. It showed you the true location of the land down under. We bust that over with the kangaroo. Even the kids in school saying the kangaroo can't jump down and yo-yo back up to the earth. We killed it, so they just changed the ocean. I don't know, we was killing that shit. Cocaine, that's all, okay. Boom. Let's fast forward some more. Let's fast forward. Now look. I know this product, Wakanda. This is what he was on that day. Right? Right? And this that directional cross right there. That's got the east and the west. Like I've been looking for nigger maps since I started talking to them, because I've studied all them maps, man. What is the Negro maps? What is the original inhabitants? Well, they said we made all our maps out of straws and sticks so they didn't survive. We got all this gold. Everything surviving but our maps. Okay. Now look. He went crazy. He said, man, Ethiopia and Florida. I said, yeah, let's get it. Okay, boom. So that's when I started showing the Ethiopian Ocean as really what the Atlantic Ocean is. The Ethiopian Ocean in the northwest tip of Africa is our shit too. I'm gonna keep saying, cause my ancestors gave it to me, man. And my ancestors led me to a road of motherfucking corn, #RTC, we ain't playing. And he rolled that corn, and I'm gonna cut that coke. And that's what the fuck going on. Now watch this. Watch this. As he continued. See all that south, see that tip right there, that's our shit. The Ethiopian Sea, see? I had to go let y'all be able to see it. Ethiopian Sea, Ethiopian Ocean. The Atlantic is the Ethiopian Ocean. But seemed like the name that came from over here, but we gonna show the connection, right? Right. Ocean, Ethiopia, huh? Ethiopia is located way over there on the eastern side next to the Horn of Africa over there. Why would this be the Ethiopian Ocean? Why would the Atlantic be the Ethiopian Ocean? Okay, let's continue. You see how this motherfucker Gemini lie? No land in the area near Florida was called Ethiopia. Okay. Why Canada? Wakanda. Let's go. So he go and find. See? Gotta go. Huh? Ethiopia. Same regional location. That's what I'm talking about too. What keep me to my nautical plate. Nah. I said all this to say that direction across east west. Are we the true eastern star? Did they take the east from us and make themselves the east? Did they take the east from us and make themselves are we the eastern star? Are we the one who praised the eastern star, which would be the sun? Are we the star people, the melanated people, the children of the sun? No. See, they rearrange some maps and flip some shit upside down and all kind of shit around through this bitch. Cause I started asking. I said I want to see some nigga maps. I want to see no more of them. I want to see with the navigators, with the Olmecs, the true navigators of these waters, the true astrologers. I want to see their maps. That's what they destroyed. They had to destroy that to come with a new world to reconstruct this bitch. And now they balled it up in tons of waters. A planet, man, that's Mama Earth. We ain't disrespecting Mama Moon no more. That ain't why I came today. Now check this out. Me and my baby Angie Stone now. Let me get up out of this. That's some other shit. Now look. Now I wake up today. I'm playing with little AI ass medicine. The Mediterranean lines and parallel lines made them tell me that South America is twice as large as Europe. Made them tell me that Greenland itself is physically features that curves forming a boundary between the Arctic and the North. I made these motherfuckers say the landmass of Greenland that they put that fake ass ice on to my 90% ice and try to create that North Pole. I made this motherfucker say that landmass is actually curving around this water. How can it be in the Arctic and the North Atlantic and the Ethiopian Ocean? Cause they faking us out with that bullshit. Huh? I made this motherfucker actually say, let me see, where is it? That bitch said, goddamn, and parallel imaginary. And then listen, and parallel lines are imaginary lines. Everything imaginary with the globe, the equator imaginary, because ain't no southern hemisphere. We don't live on the bottom of these bitches. Our imaginary lines used to map the Earth's curved surface. Greenland coast itself is the physical feature that curves. Greenland itself. Physical features that curves, forming a boundary between the Arctic Ocean and the North Atlantic. So this motherfucker really said that land mass curve around the ball. I'm gonna shake my nigga so I wake on my nigga. The globe is a big part of the deception. 3GD, God, globe, and gravity. The three deceptions of this world. You know, 3GD for life. Cause I know they lying. But let's go. Now, hold up. these are people that gave you the globe. Aristotle, these so-called motherfuckers. Who is this here? Alright, I ain't got time to try to read all that right now. I'm trying to get to this point because I'm going to take my evidence. I got to go to work. Oh, the Mercator. I was talking about them maps. I was making them tell on itself. We'll go through it sometime. Excavating pyramids, Meroka, the smallest of the three great pyramids, finished inside buried chambers. He found beautiful carved sarcophagus. I know you did. But they trying to say he was found. He wasn't found well. My man rolled a coin, said he was found down in Mississippi. They trying to say he was thrown in the Mediterranean, I believe. You know what I'm saying? What we talking about is conspiracy hoes, like they always do. Now this is a university. This is what I woke up on. I said, I want to know the first university in South America. This guy here, Charles V. See, this is how European Roman motherfuckers hid themselves within their European countries. France, Spain, Germany. Rus is Russia. Rus is Sweden, then Rus, and then become Russia. They brothers, right? That's the double-headed phoenix eagle. That's the Khazarian and Ashkenazi Jew. That's the connection right there, right? Right. So this guy here, the first university, Athens, that's 17, 18, all that. No, the first university in South America, and guess what it said? Guess what it said? The first university in South America was the National University of San Marcos in Lima, Peru, established in 1551. See our columns? I learned that from Roll the Motherfucking Coin. See, I learned that from Roll the Motherfucking Coin. See that triangle at the top? See our columns? And I also, and I go in there too. See it? Now listen. It was officially chartered by the Holy Roman Empire, which they said they was building no empire, Roman Empire, on top of the South American shit. They started hiding it. They want to be in control of this Western world. This is our shit. Right? And then I go right in there and ask this fool, when the Romans came into Peru, historical evidence indicates that Roman Empire, which primarily controlled the Mediterranean region, did not have contact with the Americas before the Western Empire fall of the 476 AD. The Spanish began the European conquest. The Spanish is the Europeans, right? Who funded the Holy Roman Empire? See how they can throw a rock and hide their hand? The Norsemen, coming to take over the West. See how they throw a rock and hide their hand? Look at that. The Roman archers. Bitch, them ain't no motherfucking Roman archers, bitch. Let's go. So I go to Harvard University. See what I see? The triangle and the columns. Who built this shit, man? Who built this motherfucker? But anyway, no, the original Harvard University University or Harvard Yard is not built on a mile-high mound. Bitch, I ain't said mile-high, I just said mound. So you just told me there's a mile-high mound that it sits on, but it appears to be flat. I ain't said that about no mile high, I just said about a mound. Why you say mile high? Culture, let's go. I'm sorry, what was this? This was found upon a Harvard. And then watch this. Human remains associated with artifacts from the colonial burial ground. More global university connection to the Babylonian collection contain ancient cuneiform tablets, including the world's oldest culinary receipts, Inca artifacts, and human remains from Machu Picchu, though most have been returned to Peru. Egyptian artifacts, including mummies, and see, I bust him. He'll never say it again. I bust him. Guess what I asked him? Guess what I asked him right there? So what happened was, I asked about Yale. I said, well, so where Yale at? Connecticut or some shit, it said. And Harvard was in Boston, Massachusetts or some shit, right? Right. Gotta go to sleep, y'all. I'm gonna play this video, roll the corn. We're gonna roll the corn and cut the coke. I love you, bro. I hope you get this video. And I hope I ain't take too long to get to this point. But this the point. This the point. Skull and bones is what led me over to Peru. Or what led me to connect. My soul is magneted, not gravitated, magneted to what the fuck you got going on. And I'm rolling that goddamn corn. But I'm cheap cut the coke. Because I know they can't get it from them one place. But anyway, so when I go to asking about Yale, because I'm asking about the skull and bones, right? Right. So I asked that bitch, matter of fact, we need to look up we need to look up Yale University right quick before I do that. But and I asked him about was it built on a mound. So I just said, fuck that. I said, what things have been dug up on a Yale University, ancient thing? Boom, and this is what it come up with. Human remains and associated artifacts from a colonial era burying ground. What? More globally, the university collection mainly at the Peabody Museum. That's where he said a museum. That said the actual university was on flat ground, but it was scientific museums and all that shit on higher ground. Museum and Bologna collection contain ancient cuneiform tablets, including the world's oldest culinary receipts, Inca artifacts, pottery tools, and human remains from Machu Picchu, though most have been returned to Peru. Egyptian artifacts, including mummies and a vase with traces of opium. Traces of opium. Should have been cocaine, bitch. But let me do this. I want to look up Yale University before I go play this video, if I can take my head back to sleep. Y'all roll that motherfucking corn. We don't play. And, yeah, what they got going on? The oldest and biggest Mayan temple was built to depict the cosmos. What? You helping me out now? What? To depict the cosmos. Oldest and biggest Mayan. No, man, I ain't trying to agree to shit. I'm thinking you agree. I read it. You have read and get a time to use agreement collection to use. I could get in some I don't like to agree to shit, bitch. But guess what? I ain't gonna agree to that shit. I do. There it is right there. CNN 12 hours ago. Y'all want me to click on that bitch? Who else? Nobody. Who did it? Oh, what up, little Bo Pete? I didn't know y'all was in this bitch. Man, baby. Big Proctor, what's up, baby? Jay Proctor in the building. I click on that motherfucker now, but I want to go. This is what I want to go do right quick. I want to goddamn go. I want to go see. I want to see. I see these columns. Just want to see how it built. I want to see how it's built. But this skull, this where them skull and bone niggas be at over here. Go to image. Oh yeah, the images. I'm gonna go see how this bitch built. You don't look at this motherfucker. You don't look at this shit. I just want to see it. That's all I want to do, just see that shit. Probably big ass mouth. I just want to see this shit. Just want to see this shit. Got to get down the road of corn, gonna tear their ass up. You gonna tear their ass up. You get a dig on this shit, you gonna tear their ass up. But I'm gonna go hit it down. I'm going up at 14. Y'all know how to do it. I'm picking that cotton real good around here. My man gonna say, that's Hebrew. See, I don't know how they, when my man's there, he gonna go to point at that shit, he gonna go to buzzing that shit up. He gonna say, why? He gonna say, that's Hebrew. What? Why would I tell you if he fuck with it? You know, bring it up on. You wanna bring it on? See it. Now you gonna try to make it look crazy. But that's how that what led me to him. The skulls and bones led me to him. The Javaphone led me to Peru, Alabama, Florida, Louisiana, Ethiopia, all that shit going to the same area. The first university in the Americas was goddamn chartered by the Roman Catholic through the Spaniard, Charles V. That's where we at with it, why we keep going to the same area. I keep going to the same area. Now let me get out of here and go back into the goddamn video so I can chill. I gotta turn the heat up. That my nigga right there. The Indian King Mounds of Savannah, Georgia lecture. I remember that one. That's the one got the golf course built on it, I believe. That's the one got the golf course built on it, I believe. That's the one got the golf course. And then when he did the golf course, I went and asked for the oldest golf course in North America, and it took me to Canada. See? It took me to Ontario, what it is, right next to Canada. Damn, Niagara Falls now, what it is. But it took me over there, so I had to come back and say it in the United States, and then it took me to the right one. Showing you how they play. The United States of America is not North America continent. That's what they try to teach you in this global shit. No, this shit way larger than that. And then the North is on the other side of the falls. The water falls. See, I used to live in Buffalo. I lived on the other end, Niagara Falls. The water fall, not ball, and they don't live on top of our head, and we don't take a boat up in the water to go to where they at. Yeah, we gonna cut all that shit out too. But wow, they want for the play this.
500 years ago. Their relation to the sacred mysteries of Egypt, Greece, Chaldea, and India. No value that in a sense
we're gonna run this part of our history
people here.
Now let me get in. I'm gonna leave this chat up in case y'all still be up in this bitch. You know, people, y'all know how I do it. Y'all know how I do it. Y'all know how I do it. I'm trying to see what little Bo Peep saying. Hold up. Hey, I have to come back cause this video keeps glitching. But I'm around. What? You probably do. Hey, brother. Hey, Uncle Jack. Okay. Y'all just chill. Well, we're on Monday video. And y'all learn. Yeah, hey, we on the air. Roll the corner. Y'all go subscribe to We Know the Truth now. So they found some goddamn up on the Yale University, huh? Okay. Let me cut this coat. Let's go. Ain't gonna let me cut the coat, y'all. I gotta get rid of one. Let me play the video. Let me go. I gotta do this. Boop. Gotta do it like that. Boop.
Erased it. We'll get to that later on in the program. Erased it intentionally. Erased it intentionally. That's an important part of it. The cover-up of let alone.
This man named Graham Hancock. I'm gonna look into him tomorrow while I'm at work. Graham Hancock.
Native American sites. Why would so many people be covering up the evidence of earlier civilizations in the Americas? I think some people have called it a colonial cover-up, a colonial archaeological conspiracy.
There's two sides to this story. In one side of the story is the way America was conquered by basically Anglo-Saxons, and in that conquest of the Americas, what they confronted was an indigenous people who had inhabited that realm for tens of thousands of years. We now know, and the first thing they did was to attempt to exterminate them physically, to get them out of the way. And when that became objectionable, the next measure was to exterminate their culture, to rub it out, to pour scorn upon it, to say that it was of no value, that in a sense the absurd and monstrous argument was that the Native Americans deserved what was done to them because they were supposedly not capable of any high culture. We now know that that's completely untrue, and that was a conspiracy. That was a conspiracy to destroy Native American culture and thus to legitimize the conquest and the massive theft of land. And it carried on into the 20th century with the so-called boarding schools, where Native American children, almost all of them, were taken away from their families, moved hundreds of miles away and put in schools and taught that their culture was rubbish and indoctrinated with Western. All right, so I'm in this book now. It's called The Sacred Mysteries Among the Mayas and the Quiches, 11,500 years ago. All right? Yes, 11,500 years ago. Their relation to the sacred mysteries of Egypt, Greece, Chaldea, and India. It says here, Freemasonry in times anterior to the Temple of Solomon. Illustrated by Augustus Le Plongeon. And it says he's an author of a sketch of the ancient inhabitants of Peru and their civilization, vestiges of the Mayans, essay on vestiges of antiquity, essay on the causes of earthquakes, religion of Jesus compared with the teachings of the church, the monuments of Mayaks, and their historical teachings. This book is from 1886. All right? And we're in the preface of the book, and it says here, the forests of Yucatan and Central America are today for the majority of the people of the United States, even those who call themselves scientific and well-informed, as much as terra incognita, meaning it's unknown to them. All right, he's trying to say they don't really know anything about it, and this is during his time, right? As America was to the inhabitants of Europe before its discovery by Cristobal Colon in 1498. When for the first time he came in sight of the northern coast of South America and navigated along it from the mouth of the river Orinoco to Porto Cabello in the Gulf of Triste. If you haven't persuaded the books of J.L. Stevens, Norman, and other tourists who have hurriedly visited the ruins of the ancient cities that lie hidden in the depths of those forests, have a vague idea that there exist the remains of stone houses built sometime or other before the discovery authoritatively that their builders were but little removed from the state of savagism, and that none of their handwork is worth the attention of the students of our age. Their civilization, they confidently say, was at best very crude. They were ignorant of art of writing, and the scanty records of their history chronicled on their skins, and pictorial representations are well nigh unintelligible. They had no sciences, no mental culture or intellectual development. They were in fact a race whose intelligence was, for the most part, of lower order. From what they did, nothing is to be learned, and that has any direct bearing on the progress of civilization. In no wise can they be compared with the Egyptians or the Chaldees, much less with the Greeks or Romans. It is not, therefore, worth our while to spend time and money and researches among the ruins of their cities. It is to Greece, it is to Egypt, to Chaldea, that Americans must go in order to make new discoveries. In those countries must be established schools for study of Greek or Egyptian or Chaldean archaeology. And American schools have been established at Athens and Alexandria, and expeditions sent to Syria, to the shores of the Euphrates. I was saying when they were going in there was, even though they went in there and found things, and a lot of these probably are Freemasons and stuff, and they kept it to themselves, and they said, there's nothing there to find, there's nothing there good. That's what he's saying, but look what he's going to say right now. But the European scientists who for many years past have explored those old fields in order to obtain relics to fill the shelves of the museums of their capitals and turned up the soil of the Orient in search of archaeological treasures, now look to the Western continent in quest of the origin of those ancient civilizations. Where are they looking now? He's letting you know. This is back in the 1800s, right? Because we're going to read Graham Hancock a little bit later, letting us know the same thing. In modern times, they're doing the same thing, right? Because what happened, they couldn't find anything over on their side. So what did they start doing? Now they look to the Western continent in quest of the origin of those ancient civilizations, which they have been unable to find in the countries where they once flourished. They haven't been able to find any of these ancient monuments or things mentioned like in the Bible or anything like that. They haven't been able to find them over there because they're looking at the wrong side. And they look with that reverence which true learning begets on those ancient American temples and palaces that are object of contempt for some modern American scientists. Alright, so it says Queen Mu and the Egyptian Sphinx. Alright, so we got in part 5 or 6 of this series. We read again the preface only, and it was so full of drop, and that's where I left it. And we haven't continued since then. So we talked about the Nagas being actually the Mayas. That's what he was correlating, letting us know. And then we also got like a story of Queen Mu, right, who she was and how she went over to that other side of the world in Egypt, and she was from here, and had something to do with the construction of the Sphinx. Talking about a jaguar, we talking about a jaguar, a dog, whatever, man, whatever it was, definitely the head is fake, the modern head, that whole theme park over there. Either way, the story of somebody going from here over there is the point, just like Thoth said, right, that he came from here and he went over there. I thought it's an Atlantean, that's over here. Alright, so there was again the book by Augustus Le Plongeon. Alright, again, we're in the introduction of this book. If you should catch the preface of it, go make sure after this video, if you haven't seen it, go back to those parts. Go back to the beginning, part 1, you'll see, this is the true old world, alright? So let's begin. It says, the country known today as Yucatan, one of the states of the Mexican Confederacy, may indeed be justly regarded by the ethnologist, the geologist, and the naturalist, the philologist, the archaeologist, and the historian as the most interesting field of study. Alright? This should be what they're studying, but you know what? They've neglected it all this whole time. How are they finding thousands of structures? They're going to find millions, but they're finding thousands of structures in the jungle today. And they said it's going to take them 100 years just to study one site like these 60,000 structures. That's one, certain areas they did their LiDAR scan on. They haven't even...
Common sense tell you South America way larger than what they show on that map. Common sense tell you that South America is way larger than what they show on that map.
Done the LiDAR scan on the whole jungle yet. Alright, so they're still going to be finding things. This is the place where all these professionals, right, in their fields, right, PhDs, should be putting their interest in. Alright, he's letting you know right away. Its area of 73,000 square miles, covered with dense forests, is literally strewn with the ruins of numerous antique cities, numerous majestic temples, stately palaces, the work of learned architects. Now heaps of debris crumbling on the inexorable tooth of time and the impious hand of iconoclastic collectors of relics for museums. Alright, he's letting you know. Majestic temples, numerous antique cities. Where's all this stuff in Egypt, right? So ancient, but they always just show us like 3 pyramids. Where's the rest of the city? Where's the courts, the university? Like, I know they're scattered all around and they give us, these explanations, but not like over here. You guys don't understand. They're like metropolises, right? Like real big, giant cities, majestic temples, stately palaces, the work of learned architects, learned, very wise people, Toltec architects, builders, mound builders, pyramid builders. Alright? Now heaps of debris, now it's all debris, right? They're just collecting things for their museums. He says, among the statues of priests and kings, mutilated and defaced by the actions of the elements, the hand of time and that of man, he prostrated in the dust. Walls covered with bas reliefs, inscriptions, and sculptures carved in marble. Alright? Carved in marble. Right? You're hearing all this, right? You gotta picture all this in the jungle right here, the Yucatan, Guatemala. You gotta know that it's all you this whole time they've been talking about. When he's reading this, I want you to picture yourself, your ancestors, or just, a Naga up in there. Alright, an Aboriginal building all this stuff. The different coppers, the different shades of copper, all these different people that live together in these cities, alright, on the kingdoms, the majestic palaces, statues of priests and kings of marble, alright, priests and kings, you mean a priest, king, a Khan, the Khans, they call themselves the Khans, the Maya, the Khans, the serpents, Khan, priest kings, the Drakons, dragons, the plum serpent, the Amaru, alright, that says, alright, so all these things carved in marble, right, containing the panegyrics of rulers, the history of the nation, its cosmogonical traditions, the ancient religious rites and observances of its people, inviting decipherment, attract the attention of the traveler. Alright? There's so much stories, he says there in the inscriptions telling them their history. Situated between 18 degrees and 21 degrees, 35 of latitude north and 86, 50, and 90, 35 of longitude west from the Greenwich Meridian, Yucatan forms a peninsula that divides the Mexican Gulf from the Caribbean Sea. It's a beautiful place over there. The peninsula then divided into many districts or provinces, each governed by an independent ruler who had given a peculiar title to his own dominions, seems to have had no general name. One district was called Chacan, another Sepeth or Sepesh, another Shuaca, another Mayapan, and so on. Mayapan, however, was a very large district. Alright, Mayapan, whose king was regarded as Suzain by the other chieftains. Previous to the destruction of his capital by the people, headed by the nobility, they having become tired of his exactions and pride, this rebellion is said to have taken place 71 years before the advent of the Spanish adventurers in the country. they're letting you know there's a whole history. You got to always think about that. Before these Europeans arrived, there was a whole history already over here. This is the true ancient world, right? These are the Nagas, all right? We're reading about the Khans, right? They just told us, the Grand Khan, the Nagas, right? Khans are the serpent, right? And in the Hindu tradition, the Nagas, right? Serpent. These were Mayas, right? And so they lived and had their own history. They had their own overthrows and kingdoms and, rivalries. There was already things like that going on over here, all right? You gotta think of that. The powerful dynasty of the Kokomes, which had held tyrannical sway over the land for more than 2 centuries, then came to an end. Among the chroniclers and historians, several have ventured to give an etymology of the word Maya. None, however, seem to have known its true origin. Maya. Maya, mama. Alright, so quickly I want to read from this newspaper article that I found. It says here, the Kansas City Journal, from Monday, October the 12th, 1896. And the title is Prehistoric Man, the Human Race and Its Dispersions. How long has the earth been people, and when and where was the beginning? Alright, so we've been doing a lot of research, right? Correlating a lot of things that, America is the true old world. Alright, more and more evidence is just going to keep coming out. We're just going to keep finding all these investigations, studies, articles, documented, recorded, historical chronicles, and information, right, that existed that never was taught to us, all right? So this is one of those, all right? So let's see what they have to say in this article, all right? Because we are talking about, a lot of Egyptian resemblances here in America. And the truth is that this is the source, this is their origins, and that's why there is some resemblances here to all the old world civilizations. We have all that here, all right? It's not just like we're similar to Egyptians or we're similar to the Hindu or all that. It's everything, because this is the source. So from here it's spread out to the rest of the world, all right? So let's see what they say right here. All right, so I'm just going to belly flop to this part of the article, and it says, after correlating all data that have been made public to the present time, all right, the conclusion is unavoidable that the oldest civilization was in the Yucatan and Central America. All right, again, the Kansas City Journal in 1896 wrote this. They're telling you that if you really do the research, you start compiling all this information, all this evidence, it's unavoidable, all right, that the oldest civilization was in the Yucatan and Central America. Future discoveries may change this conclusion. It seems that Egypt was first peopled by immigrants from the Yucatan.
What?
Say what? It seems that Egypt was first peopled by the immigrants from Yucatan. Space will allow only a few facts that clear peopled by immigrants from the Yucatan. Say what? It seems that Egypt was first peopled by the future discoveries may change this conclusion. It seems that Egypt was first peopled by immigrants from the Yucatan. Say what? It seems that Egypt was first peopled by the immigrants from Yucatan. Space will allow only a few facts that clearly indicate the truth of this assertion. First, the pyramids of Yucatan are some of them much larger than any found in Egypt. All right, much larger than any found in Egypt. That of Cheops, not accepted. All right, and Giza. Second, the pyramids of Egypt bear structural evidences.
Know what that nigga said they gonna say? They don't come to a point. Not easy to be to put a point on that bitch, bro. But see, the true pyramid come to a point. I got right said. Time you bring your ass home, bro. But I see you gonna die in your way.
Haven't been modeled on those of Yucatan, notably of the one at Coloma, which covers 23 acres. Third, the early Egyptians and the Mayas of Yucatan had the same system of reckoning time, but the Mayas developed a system that was far superior. Again, we got that in the Foreign Quarterly Review, right? Far superior or excelled, in which antedates that of Egypt is older than Egypt. All right? Fourth, the Mayas manufactured cement that was of the same material as that of ancient Egypt. That of Egypt is older than Egypt. Alright? Superior. Again, we got that in the Foreign Quarterly Review, right? Far superior or excelled. In which antedates that of Egypt is older than Egypt. Alright? Fourth, the Mayas manufactured cement that was of the same material as that of ancient Egypt. Fifth, the architecture of Yucatan is of the same general type as that of an ancient Egypt, but it is finer and seems to have been the model that the Egyptians attempted to imitate. They attempted to imitate our models from here, America. Six, the art of both countries, as displayed in their ceramics and architecture, is of the same type or school, that of Yucatan, being much more highly developed. Alright, again, this was an article written in the Kansas City Journal, Monday, October 12, 1896, if you want to look it up. Prehistoric man, they're telling you straight up in this article back in 1896 that we were the source, we were the cradle of civilization, and we went and colonized Egypt over there. Just like Thoth told us in Atlantis, the emerald tablets, right, and the green emerald tablets, right, he told us he went over there, right, to the sons of Chem. Alright, we got the Masonic book on the last video, right? What did it tell us? That this is the original Egypt. And when we're talking about prehistory, we're talking about America. That's the Masons. That's one of their most sacred books, Ancient Mystic Order. Alright? Foreign Quarterly Review. Vases agreeing both in shape and ornament with the earliest specimens of Egyptian and Etruscan pottery have been found in their sepulchral excavations. Moreover, evidences of an amount of civilization and of social comfort which are not to be found among the popular and boosted monuments of Egypt are furnished by the architectural memorials of this great, singular, and almost unknown people. They're talking about you, the aboriginal so-called Negro that was here. And they say that you are unknown, and they say that you disappeared, and they say that you came from Africa. Alright, so again, this guy's just saying, you know, there's evidences of amount of civilization and social comfort which are not to be found among the popular and boasted monuments of Egypt. It just shows basically what he's saying. You're just seeing pyramids, but you're not seeing the whole town, the whole city, the aqueducts. Where's everything else? You can find that in Mexico. They just found 60,000 structures in the jungles of Guatemala. Well, they just released the information to us. Who knows how long ago they know about it? 60,000 structures.
That's why I told y'all there was war in Guatemala, and Guatemala touches this motherfucker, but they try to tell me it wasn't touching. I just got through talking about Guatemala yesterday. They found how many stores in Guatemala? And that's the transport, and that's how they transport their cocaine through that motherfucker. Cheap cut the coke.
Structures in the jungles of Guatemala. Well, they just released the information to us. Who knows how long ago they know about it? 60,000 structures, right? With this was a metropolis. It basically rewriting history. Millions of people lived there. Clean streets, aqueducts, highways, fortified, monuments. All right? Dig into it. Roads are to be found not only in the vicinity of their great cities, but at considerable distance from them. Like I just said, all these ancient ruins are all connected by roads and highways in the middle of the jungle. That's what they're realizing today, this year. They're letting us know. And this book is from 1836, this article. Why didn't they teach us this in school? Who knows? We might have become archaeologists. We might have had an interest to dig into this stuff, to our own history, knowing that it was greater than Egypt and vast and magnificent and grandeur. we would have probably been the archaeologists discovering and writing about this today. Alright? But we weren't given that chance. They told us everything was over there and that side over there. You want to be an archaeologist? You want to study history? You got to go over there to study in Oxford. Then you got to go to Egypt. Then you know, everywhere else but here. Alright? Again, roads are to be found not only in the vicinity of their great cities, but at a considerable distance from them. Artificially constructed like the Roman military roads of large squared blocks of stone. These roads, on the same principle as the railroad, affect a continued level. They're in fact viaducts, as contrasted with aqueducts, which these people also constructed, where they traverse acclivities. They are parapeted, and the evidences both of regular posting stations at regular intervals and of the regular division of the distances upon the principle of our milestones upon turnpike roads are still to be observed. Bridges constructed of the same durable materials and traversing mountain torrents are also to be found. Where is all this in the so-called old world and the other side in Egypt? Where is all this? High science, high civilization. In these bridges, an approach to the principle of the arch and keystone may be in a few instances discerned, but generally they display the primitive and obvious form of architraves of stone, superimposed on two or more piers of the same massy character and durable materials. Every feature of these structures is at once singular, ingenious, and gigantic. Ingenious and gigantic. Cyclopean in the forms of their masonry, they are characterized throughout by the same titanium character of wild and exaggerated grandeur. This book now is called The Sacred Mysteries Among the Mayas and the Quiches, 11,500 years ago. Their relation to the sacred mysteries of Egypt, Greece, Chaldea, and India. It says here Freemasonry in times anterior to the Temple of Solomon. Illustrated by Augustus Le Plongeon. Thus we see established in Paris the Société des Americanistes, whose sole object is the study of all things pertaining to ancient American civilization. That society, composed of students, spares no effort to obtain knowledge respecting the architecture, the science, the arts, the language, and the civilization of the people who inhabited in remote ages the various countries of this western continent. A premium of 25,000 francs has been offered for the discovery of an alphabet or key to the inscriptions carved on the walls of the monuments in Yucatan in Central America. M. Desiree Charnay has been sent to obtain molds of the sculptures and other precious relics that lie hidden and lost in the recesses of the Central American forest. Casts have been made from such squeezes as he obtained. These casts adorn the Trocadero Museum at Paris. Duplicates of the same having been presented to the Smithsonian Institute at Washington by Mr. Pierre Lorillard of New York. This gentleman is the only American who has ever contributed. With his wealth and influence, he has spent $25,000 in expeditions for the recovery of facts and objects that may throw light on the ancient history of America. Then again, we have in Europe the International Congress des Americanistes that convenes every 4 years in one of the capitals of Europe for the purpose of collecting all new data obtained in the interval concerning ancient American civilization. So you see, they have these special societies just for this, so they can know what's coming out of America. In England, at Cambridge, there is in the university a large building specially dedicated to Central American archaeology. Right? There are to be seen, as I am informed by General Sir Henry Lefroy, the cast and photographs obtained by Mr. Maudsley, a wealthy gentleman who was devoted his time and wealth to the work of obtaining facsimiles in plaster and photographs of the ancient monuments of Honduras and Guatemala. Facsimiles are exact copies of the original. 3 years ago, I had a cast made from some of the stereotype molds made by me of sculpture at Uxmal and offered them for exhibition in the Metropolitan Museum of Art in Central Park. They have been placed in the cellar, out of the way, for one a space against the wall. That's what he told him. The public has never seen them. I once remonstrated with one of the trustees and proposed to sell the museum a copy of the collection of fresco paintings from Chichen Itza, last remnants of ancient American art. The answer of the gentleman was no. Those things are not appreciated. They are looked upon as of no value. Nevertheless, some of the illustrations in this book are photographs of the same despised cast and mural paintings. Alright, so he's going to show you what they were saying has no value. During the last lecturing season, I offered to several literary, scientific, and historical societies to give lectures illustrated with views made by us of the monuments and enlarged with the stereopticon. In every instance, I received the same answer. Our people are not interested in such a subject. What? Americans not interested in American antiquities? That's what I'm saying. In ancient American history? In ancient American civilization? Alright, so you see how they were purposely ignoring these people that were going and doing this research and finding these things, right? Not all of them were down with those same Smithsonians and all that, and the museum people and all that. Alright, some of them actually, financed their own expeditions and went there, and they had connections, they're Freemasons and all that, but, they're trying to let them know what's over there. Ms. Leplajon and I have written 2 works of Yucatan. One is Monuments of Mayaks and Their Historical Teachings. The other, Yucatan, its ancient palaces and modern cities, life and customs of the aborigines. We have offered them to several publishing houses, but the same answer has been given by all. There is no money in the publication of such books. American readers do not care for this subject. You hear all this? And it was true, people don't care. And a lot of people right now still don't care, right? Notwithstanding such rebuffs, I made up my mind to present to American readers some of the historical facts that have been brought to light by deciphering the bas-reliefs and mural inscriptions by means of the ancient hieratic Maya alphabet discovered by me. Alright, and check this out. This is a big one right here. Let me just show you this one. Alright, so you got, on one side it says, on the left, it says ancient Maya hieratic alphabet according to mural inscriptions. And to the right is Egyptian hieratic alphabet according to Messrs. Champollion, Lejeune, de Brunsen. Alright? So they're talking about, at least the Egyptian ones, they're verified from primary sources that they're using at that time. And this is what he's finding and what they're finding in the Americas on the left. And you can see the resemblances, right? So this little by little. Alright, you see. Yeah, so you got this one right here, and then you got the thing right here. Then you got like a little box right here, another box right here. Alright. See this one and this one as well over here. Basically the same, you see that? Alright, you got this right here. Well, 2 of them, right? You got similar. Alright, you got this one right here, and so on, right? You can see this one looks like this one, or at least this one, right? And water. That water, the line, look at that. Alright, square, square. Do this. You got a triangle here, and then you got this one and this one. Alright, just backwards. Look at that. Same, kind of like the same. Alright, then you got the lines. Alright, so yeah, it has a lot of similar. You see the symbols here, the letter that it associates to, supposedly. Alright, are we just talking about the ancient pictograph? The ancient Ibarias. Alright, who are the Maya, who are the Nagas, right? were really civilized too. Alright? John showing you right here. In this small book, which two of the most prominent firms in New York have positively refused to publish, believing it to be a bad speculation, I present only such facts as can be proved by the works of well-known writers, ancient and modern, and by the inscriptions carved on stone by the Maya learned men and historians. It is for you, reader. It is for you. Talking to you, the reader, right? We're not talking about you believing anybody else. Talking to you personally. You verify the information. You're listening right now. Don't listen to other people, what they're telling you. They're not showing you any sources, right? This is for you, reader, to judge if they are worthy your consideration, all right? So letting you know what's been going on, how he's had trouble, getting this out there, right, to these historians and these museums, and having, this awareness come about, like he wants to spread, he wants to really people to focus on what was here, the civilizations that were here, because it's showing him that it's actually very ancient, right? Alright, so it says Queen Mu and the Egyptian Sphinx. Alright, so there was again the book by Augustus Le Plongeon. Alright, again, we're in the introduction of this book. Alright, so it says, let's continue, it says, as a natural consequence of the destruction by the invaders of Chichen Itza, then the seat of learning, the Itza is, preferring ostracism to submitting to their vandal-like conquerors, abandoned their homes and colleges, and became wanderers in the desert. Alright? Abandoned what? Their homes and what? Colleges. Colleges, plural. And became wanderers in the desert. They became wanderers in the desert. Alright, so again, right, we know this is Canaan, right? We know somebody got kicked out of Canaan. Could it be the same story? I'm just saying, or could it just be a total different story? And this could be like the hijack, right? Coming in and destroying all this stuff. Even before the Europeans got here, getting things ready. Alright? That's what we gotta try to understand. So we're gonna dig on all that. I'm sure how was gonna lead us to the water. It says, then the arts and sciences soon declined. With their degeneracy came that of civilization. Civil war, that inevitable consequence of invasions, political strife, and religious dissension broke out before long and caused the dismemberment of the kingdom that culminated in the sack and burning of the city of Mayapan and the extinction of the royal family of the Cocomes in 1420. Alright, now we're talking about, so he was at 522. Now he's at 420. Now this is very close to 1492, right? So look at that. So something had happened in Mayapan. Somebody had come in. There was a civil war, says. Political strife. Religious dissension. Religious, key word, dissension. Alright, in the city of Mayapan. The extinction of the royal family of the Cocomes in 1420. What happened to their descendants? Again, they said they made them wanderers in the desert. What desert? Huh? 270 years after its foundation. 270 years, right? They had that kingdom. In the midst of the social cataclysms that gave the coup de grace to the Maya civilization, the old traditions and lore were forgotten or became disfigured, engrafted with the traditions, superstitions, and fables of the Nahuals. They assumed the shape of myths. The great men and women of the primitive ages were transformed into the gods of the elements and of the phenomena of nature. Boom! Wow! You see that? They made those real people who had kingdoms before them, right? Their stories kind of like became what? Shapes of myths. And these great men and women of the primitive ages, some ancient people, were what transformed into gods, right? So they made Quetzalcoatl the god. Remember, Quetzalcoatl was like Toltec Maya before, it wasn't Aztec at all. So by the time the Aztecs were having, that's already a lot of years gone by. All right, different people. So he's letting you know right here, kind of like what happened. The ancient libraries having disappeared, new books had to be written. They contained those myths, all right? The Toronto and the Dresden MSS, all right? So these codices, right, seem to belong to that epic, all right? So they started creating the myths, right? And everything became like these stories of the ancient people, right? These ancient aboriginal people of America, this part of the world at that time, wherever they were, whatever nation they were doing, living good or living wrong, whatever. I'm just saying, their stories became myths. And during the Aztec and Mexica eras, I guess that when they were writing their codices, it was already like a story by then. It wasn't, but that's how they were preserving it, right? They contain, besides some of the old cosmogonical traditions, the tenets and precepts of the new religion that sprang from the blending of the ceremonies of the antique form of worship of the Mayas with the superstitious notions, the sanguinary rites, and the obscene practices of the phallic cult of the Nahuatl. Phallic. What y'all know about that, man? The phallic cult. Alright, so who are these? He's saying Nahuatls. Alright, who came with their sanguinary rites and obscene practices, yo. They made religions, they started worshiping you, they created idols, right, of these ancient people, alright. And so the phallic is, that, man, you follow that to the dog, right, and then Thoth, man, you see, you start seeing Thoth all over this, the phallic cult, really, the laws of the land, and the vestiges of the science and knowledge of the philosophers of past ages that still lingered among some of the noble families, transmitted as heirlooms by word of mouth from father to son, so they were still living there amongst them. These books were written in new alphabetical letters, and some of the ancient demotic or popular characters that, being known to many of the nobility, remained in usage. With the old orders of priesthood and the students, the knowledge of the hieratic or sacred mode of writing had disappeared. The legends graven on the facade of the temples and palaces, being written in those characters, were no longer understood, except perhaps by a few archaeologists who were sworn to secrecy. The names of the builders, their history, that of the phenomena of nature they had witnessed, the tenets of the religion they had professed, all contained, as we have said, in the inscriptions that covered these antique walls, were as much a mystery to the people as to the multitudes which have since contemplated them with amazement during centuries to the present day. Bishop Landa, speaking of the edifices of Izamal, asserts that the ancient buildings of the Mayas at the time of the arrival of the Spaniards in Yucatan were already heaps of ruins, objects of awe and veneration to the aborigines who lived in their neighborhood. Alright, so even the aborigines that were living there were like, man, what happened here? Because a lot of these places were already in ruins. We're talking about ancient. We're talking about these places are thousands and thousands of years old. These monuments, these pyramids, these megaliths. So even the aborigines in the town, they're like, yo, man, who lived here thousands of years before them? They had lost, he says, the memory of those who built them and of the object for which they had been erected. Alright? Yet before their eyes were their facades covered with sculptures, inscriptions, figures of human beings and of animals in the round and in bas relief, in a better state of preservation than they are now, not having then suffered so much injury at the hand of man, for the natives regarded them as their descendants do still, with reverential fear. They were recorded the legends of the past, a dead letter for them as for the learned men of the present age. There also on the interior walls of many apartments were painted in bright colors pictures that would grace the parlors of our mansions, representing the events and the history of certain personages who had flourished at the dawn of the life of their nation. Scenes that had been enacted in former ages were portrayed in very beautiful bas-reliefs, but these speaking tableaux were for the majority of the people as much enigmas as they are today. Still, travelers and scientists are not wanting who pretend that these strange buildings were constructed by the same race now inhabiting the peninsula or by their near ancestors. Regardless of Kojudo's assertion that it is not known who their builders were and that the Indians themselves preserve no traditions of the subject, unmindful likewise of these words of Lizana, that when the Spaniards came to this country, notwithstanding that some of the monuments appeared new, as if they had been built all 20 years, the Indians did not live in them, but used them as temples and sanctuaries, offering in them sacrifices, sometimes of men, women, and children, and that their construction dated back to a very high antiquity. So they were doing all this sacrificing, didn't even know what the building was for, that it wasn't even the same people. The historiographer par excellence of Yucatan, Kogoyudo, informs us that in his day, the middle of the 17th century, scarcely a little more than 100 years after the conquest, the memory of these adulterated traditions was already fading from the mind of the aborigines, of the people who first settled in this kingdom of Yucatan. You guys were already starting to forget your ancestors, the aborigines there, alright? He says, nor of their ancient history. Forgot of your ancient history. Have I been able to find any more data than those I mentioned here? The books and other writings of the chroniclers and historians from the Spanish conquest to our times should therefore be considered well nigh valueless, so far as the history of the primitive inhabitants of the country, the events that transpired in remote ages, and ancient traditions in general are concerned. Seeing the Koyudo says they were unable to procure any information on the subject. It seems to me that it is time, he says, to speak of the various things pertaining to this country and of its natives, not, however, with the extension some might desire, mentioning in detail their origin and the countries whence they may have come. For it would be difficult for me to ascertain now that which so many learned men were unable to find out at the beginning of the conquest, even inquiring with great diligence, as they affirm, particularly since there exists no longer any papers or traditions among the Indians concerning the first settlers from whom they are descended. Our evangelical ministers, who imported the faith in order to radically extirpate idolatry, having burned all characters and paintings they could get hold of, in which were written their histories, and that in order to take from them all remembrances of their ancient rites. You see what they were doing, and that's why you couldn't remember too good, right? And it was probably they didn't want you to practice that or, even remember. Those who undertook to write the narrative of the conquest and the history of the country in order to procure the necessary data for this had naturally to interrogate the natives, all right? These were either unable or unwilling to impart the knowledge south. It may be that some of those from whom inquiries were made were descendants of the Nahuals, ignorant of the ancient history of the Mayas, you see? So they would interview like somebody who just got there recently. They, they say that Moctezuma says people came from somewhere else, right? They just got there like in the 1420s, just like in the time that it tells you these people were kind of overthrown in Mayapan and something happened there. They talk about, they ask anybody like that, hey, what's the ancient history? Like, I don't know, because they're not the ones that were there anciently, right? The Mayas were there more anciently. Alright. Others may have been some of the Mexican mercenaries who dwelt on the coast, where they were barely tolerated by other inhabitants because of their sanguinary practices. They from the first had welcomed the Spaniards as friends and allies, had maintained with them intimate relations during several years. You see, so these people, to call these mercenaries, Mexican mercenaries, these people who were not Mayas, alright, or Nahuals, but they were some other clan or people. They lived on the shores because everybody would push them up away from their homes or towns or whatever. And as soon as the Spanish got there, they were like, word, man,